on, y'all? Jordan here. Latest episode of Lightning Latest. Been a pretty busy day so far, but we have a few topics to go over. First off is an interesting one. Jake Allen, right? Goalie for the New Jersey Devils. Likely to be their number one, along with Jacob Markstrom. They're going to share time because they're both getting up there. Solid, decent, reliable goaltender. Usually in the low 900 save percentage. Pretty long career, 35 years old. Man, he would have been a great backup to Vasi. Here's why I say that. Don't get me wrong, Johansson, he's been solid, he's been decent, that's fine. You know, sometimes that's all you need, especially when you have an all-world goaltender like Vasilevsky. However, if we lost him for an extended amount of time, we could be in trouble. We could be in a lot of trouble. Granted, a lot of teams would be like that if they had to turn to their backup for a long time. That's why the backup is the backup. But having somebody that has quite a bit of experience, you know, filling in, starting games, especially when they count, like Jake Allen has done in the past, is important. Would you put Jonas Johansson in willingly during a playoff series? Probably not. So, granted, would you also put Jake Allen in over Vasilevsky if he was healthy? Probably not. But it's good to have a strong backup plan. And Jake Allen would have been that. I would have been more than happy to have him as a number two. Have him go out there and start. Right now he's going to start. He started about 30 games last year for the Devils, so probably start about that, maybe a little more for them this year. If he goes out and starts 30 games for us, though, that's great, because you want to know why? It saves Vasi for a potential playoff run. And that, at the end of the day, is more important. Granted, you got to win the games during the regular season, right, to get there. Jake Allen can win us quite a few games. Not as many as Vasilevsky. Once again, not quite to that level, obviously. But he would be a really strong number two. Probably one of the better number two goalies in the league. Actually, you know what? He'd definitely be one of the better number two goalies in the league. So signing him would have made sense because we have Vasi for another 3 years. Guaranteed, at least. And then, bringing Allen to back him up would have been good because he's probably only got 3 to 4 years left, maybe 5. So, we'll talk about this more tomorrow, especially going to dive in more about how it could have affected a playoff run. But this is one move I would have liked to have seen done, and it wasn't. But that's okay. There's still plenty of options out there if needed. Be interesting to see if, Vasi did go down if we try to work out a trade. But we want all the health in the world for our world goalie, so we'll discuss this more tomorrow. I'm really interested to dive deeper into this with you guys. But we're going to switch gears to an actual player that the Lightning got in free agency this year, Pontus Holmberg from the Maple Leafs. Going to be 27 next March. All right, he's played for the Maple Leafs. Almost said Blue Jays. Played for the Maple Leafs for the first 3 seasons of his career. So that is, I could say a few things, but hey, the Maple Leafs have been better than us the past couple of years, unfortunately. But, he's likely to serve that third and fourth line role moving forward, at least this year, maybe next year. He's still pretty young, though. He could show a lot of different things, see if he's worthy of more with this team or another team, Can he improve at a more rapid pace here in Tampa, though? That's the question. The first 3 seasons, played more games each year. Played 37 his first year, 54 his second, and 68 last season. So he's getting more and more game time, which is good. But he's not indispensable. And the goal is to try to be as indispensable as possible. It's partially because his point total, while it did raise each of those years, it kind of raised pretty slowly. He had 13 points his first season, 17 points his second, and 19 last year. Really hoping to get third or fourth line guys that can pitch in at least 25, 30 points a year, if not more. Gage Goncalves hit 20 points in 60 games last year, and they're hoping for more out of him, hence the bridge contract. Can Pontus Holberg offer something similar? That'd be great. Because the Bolts could definitely use the backup. And they need those third and fourth lines to help push through the first, the second, and third round. That's how you get to a Stanley Cup. We've talked about that the last few days. You get to a Stanley Cup by beefing up your depth. This is beefing that up. So I'm really interested to see what he can do and how big of an impact he has. Because I'll tell you what, the first week of our schedule, it looks wild. I mean, not like super wild. Luckily, we opened with 2 games at home, including the opener against Ottawa, which we briefly touched upon already, and then another home matchup against New Jersey. So those shouldn't be too terrible. It'll be good to see our buddy Palat back with the Devils as well. It's the next 4 games after that are interesting. Technically, this is more the first 9 days of the season than the first 7, but bear with me. First 4-game road trip of the season is right after we play the Devils in the second game. Trips to Boston, Washington, Detroit, and Columbus. So it's going to be pretty busy. Those are 4 teams that should be in the thick of any playoff race. Detroit's just fired, Derek Lalonde, who was a former assistant of ours, but they're run by Stevie Watt. He used to run us. You know, he's the guy that helped get those first couple of Stanley Cup teams. You know, you can't disparage what he did for us. But so far in Detroit, it hasn't really gone to plan. But the Red Wings are always a tough game to play. Obviously, going to the Bruins is never fun. Going to the Capitals is never fun. You know, Ovi's trying to make some waves. And actually, we're going to touch on Ovi here in a couple of episodes. I want to talk more about him. But he's just trying to make more waves and, you know, trying to finish out his career strong. So he's always played the Bolt stuff. So I'd be a little worried about going there. But, you know, there's a few 4-game road trips. Actually, the majority of the road trips on our schedule this year are usually around 4 games. We only have one that's longer. That's 5 games. And technically, that one is the last 5 and then the last 5 games are part of really a 9-game stretch on the road. We only have 1 game at home where we play the Avalanche in between that. But other than that, there's 3 games on the road, 1 at home, 5 away. So that will be a wild stretch for us. But, you know, that's what the grind is. That's what this game is, you know. And that would also have been another reason to have gotten a better backup goalie behind Vasilevsky. But that's neither here nor there. And the last one, of course, we're going to continue our series that we've talked about over the last few weeks. You know, we talked about Connor McDavid, right, in Bolt Blue. We talked about Kirill Kaprizov in Bolt Blue. What about Kyle Connor in Bolt Blue? Well, that's interesting because, you know, we saw the Jets last year, right? 116 points, easily the best team in the Western Conference throughout the year. Didn't even make it back to the Stanley Cup Finals. They didn't even make it to the Western Conference Finals. They lost. The Stars got there ahead of them. So, not to mention the Oilers, who... McDavid again. Dang. Anyways, a lot of regular season success. A lot of great things in Winnipeg. Kyle Connor's been a big reason to that. He's one of the most dynamic offensive wingers in the NHL. He's going to be free agent at 29, though. So, he's out pretty good health overall. He's been, you know, other than the 17 games he missed 2 years ago, the last 4 seasons, he's only missed 4 games, and those are all in 21-21, 2022. He's played in over 70 games in his 6 out of his 8 full seasons with the Jets, too. So, availability on the ice is incredibly important. You need him out there. Now, we talked about many times over the past few weeks about, you know, improving the depth. Kyle Connor would definitely improve the depth by improving the top 2 lines. You know, I don't know if he'd be that first line with Gunsel, Point, and Kucherov. But man, second line? Him on the second line with Cirelli? That could be a lot of fun. He had a plus-minus of plus 17 last year. That was his best overall plus-minus year. Defensively is where he's kind of a little iffy. And if we're going to have him out there, we're going to need to have, one of our stronger defensive units out there with him. But you know what? Hey, 97 points last year. It's the best season yet. 41 goals, 56 assists. The guy can shoot, the guy can score, the guy can assist. You can always use more offense, especially when you're chasing a Stanley Cup. Are his defensive struggles in the past? Maybe. Last year looked a lot better. And maybe he realizes that because he's going to be a free agent next year. I don't know. But the Bolts use all the help they can get. We've seen where not having those secondary scoring options would hurt them. Kyle Connor will be a primary scoring option. But that's okay, because if you have a lot of primary scoring options, a couple of them become a secondary. And in turn, improve the whole roster. So that's it for today. Tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to dive more into the Bolts schedule, including what the Athletic thinks is one of their most C games. Like, you absolutely have to watch it. I'm going to talk more about Jake Allen, like I discussed, but also another what if and some other tidbits. So really looking forward to it. Just Jordan Lightning latest. Can't wait to show you guys what's going on tomorrow. Have a good one, right?